Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Memo bibiara kwa ba eba PENDREAM TV. So you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, bell notification na share ma afofro ensa enkebi comment section ho. Nowadays kwadwentre aba Arise Ghana etrese omukwa koye picketing with the embassy of the United States of America. No man catch almost say senior motimi afri mo country so akofa obi president and answer obi man so president ya Venezuela for president modern aba USA so omo face prosecution omo pese Americans so emboa na Ghana yensa enka ken Ofori Atta no so omo face prosecution ewo oman Ghana ha na ye bisa the public say among the four arms of government for and amujidie now it will shock you say the media was included in this pool and the media came out to be trusted than the parliament, the judiciary and executives and in our them news now ye bisa and answer musa dankwa and so pool on the fight against corruption and also enchiremu ewa video emo so we ni wo ha na wa subscribe to channel no we na sa na e boayen ye the video bi atuma won sabeka na won so why bi ayede etie
going ahead. But some groups and associations have also been assessing the Mahama's 1 year in office in his second term. One of these groups is the spare parts dealers at Abose Okaim here in Accra, and we interacted with them. Take a listen.
Usha last year, nyama okoso yebedi brain nyama okoso nyama na ne boya din bibi te se omo na ade ne angwa the way ne bo pagya okoso no ama time we afi this year December we said nyama ko fom no me na okoye ma me pa
at least mama no be 65%. So I had the ekoye ma say aduane ayedi oman bia na aduane no kofoma aduane no bo kofoma mama omano members na ewo no omo ye free dollar na agina no aboyen
as you come we say 24-hour economy 24-hour economy no still now me myself haven't seen nothing.
What percentage will you give him?
Oh, I'll give her like 40%.
We want the banks to give a lot of loans to individuals so that they can establish, people can establish more businesses so that they can employ people. Because if you go to America, Asia, and all those places, they run 24 hours. Yeah, they are doing the same thing. So if we run that 24 hours, I think it will be better for us.
Look at the target of at least if they were targeting and spreading over the 4 years. I think that's a reasonable scheme. The second section.
Well, these are some spare parts dealers at Abose Okaim, the spare parts hub here in Accra. The views you see them and the rates that they are giving the president 1 year on as president of the Republic of Ghana. Musa Dankwa's Global Info Analytics, they did a poll about the president's job approval 1 year on, and this was the outcome. And 67% out of the over 13,000 respondents within this poll say they approve of the president's job. And we're going to put that on the screen right now. That is consistent with the outcome of the poll as well in October last year, 2025. So between October and December, the same number of respondents, same sample size, but different locations, over 13,000 approve of the president's job. And guess what? In October 2025, 22% said they disapprove. But if you see the data in December 2025, the persons who say they disapprove of the president's job increased by 2 percentage points to 24%. But then those who say they have no opinion actually also reduced from 11% to 9%. So what that essentially means is that those who in October 2025 said they didn't have an opinion of the president's job now express their opinion in disapproval of his job as president of the Republic of Ghana. But then if you see the 67% approval rate has been consistent, at least from October to December. That is what they put out in this. But we're zeroing in on some aspects of the president's tenure or his first year in office in his second term as president of the Republic of Ghana. Because if you recall, right from Monday, we've been touching on fight against corruption 1 year on, the economy 1 year on. We're zooming in on corruption as well tonight. and then what we did with Galamsey yesterday as well. For civil society group Arise Ghana, they say that despite some commitment that has been shown in the fight against Galamsey and also the fight against corruption, they say not much has been done in terms of their expectation with the fight against corruption and Galamsey. They had a press conference earlier today. Take a look.
On the issue of Galamsey, I think we've been very clear in the past that it's an existential threat to all Ghanaians, including those of us seated here and those of you who are broadcasting. We would expect that the president continues with the good work that they are doing, not only with the gold board, because note, if there's no incentive to go and dig, no one will mine. If the gold board stops the smuggling of gold and aggregating of gold is done, our economy will improve and Galamsey will stop. And we believe that the president will not and must not shield anyone. We want to also entreat the Speaker of Parliament, who has indicated that he will not shield any Galamsey MPs, to take his word and mean it and act upon it. Oral is Operation Recover all the loot and not some of the loot. And so we would want all the loot to be recovered. But we've listened to the Ghanaian people. We continue to listen to the Ghanaian people. So you will join us when we go to the American Embassy, for example, to picket for the American Embassy to allow Ken to come back and face justice, just like they want some heads of state in some countries to face justice back in America.
They want a lot more to be done in the fight against corruption. So, but then, Musa Danquah's poll also touched on the state of the fight against corruption within this 1 year period of John Mahama's second term. And this was the outcome. Asked that question of this over 13,000 respondents. In October 2025, 53% of the respondents say there is an improvement in the fight against corruption in this country. That increased to 56% in December 2025. But those who say, well, there hasn't been any change. Look, the fight against corruption is the same, actually reduced from 24% in October last year to 20%. And those who say corruption has worsened within the 1 year period that John Mahama has been president in his second term, increased from 16% in October 2025 to 17% in December 2025. Those who say they have no opinion also saw a 2 percentage point rise within the period that Musa Danquah polled. But he asked a question about the most trusted arms of government. And well, he added the media. We are not an arm of government, but the fourth estate of the realm as we've been described. Guess what? The respondents say they trust the media more than the executive, the judiciary, and parliament, for that matter. So that tells you a certain direction. But let me just bring you the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Adam Senano, is joining us right now on Zoom for a conversation on this development. Senano, good evening. Thank you for joining us. 1 year of President John Dramani Mahama as president in his second term. What would be your verdict on the fight against corruption within the first 12 months on a scale of 1 to 10? You heard Arise Ghana. They say it's unsatisfactory.
Well, I would accord him. I'll say he's performed creditably. I probably will give between 6 and 7 for 10. And I'll say that looking at the data, so let me put it this way. Listen, in their own commitments to the people of Ghana, in their manifesto, I think that's chapter 6 of their manifesto, under good governance, they had about 11 indicators. As I reviewed them earlier this week, there are about 4 of them they have tackled. That's in the first year of a 4-year term. If you spread those indicators, you'll be talking about doing at least 3 of them each year. So if they've done 4 in the first year, which include cutting down the size of the government to 60, and if I remember, we're more than double that, which they have done. There was the realignment and merging of ministries, which they have done. There was the cutting down of the size of politically assigned people at the Office of Government Machinery, which they've worked at. And then there was also the setting up of the Commission on a Constitutional Review Commission, which they've also done. So 4 out of the 11 there, I think at least I could immediately connect and say they've done. And if I look at a target of at least, if they were targeting a spreading over the 4 years, I think that's a reasonable step. Then the second section, which had 15 indicators on the anti-corruption, again, there were about 6 I could identify as things they've worked at. And they're quite substantive one. Following the oral was number 1. Investigate, prosecute, recover. Even though in that instance, the prosecution and recovery hasn't transpired the way we expect it to. So that's something to be looked at. There's also supporting the AGs, the Attorney General, to apply the surcharge rules and make sure it is working. That has been going on. There's also the issue of looking at a review of the, I think, assets declaration. There's also the issue of engaging the judiciary on a specialized court, which has happened. So as I went through, there were about 6 out of those 15 that have also seen some traction in the first year. I think the 2 or 3 things that for me are very critical. First of all, for the first time, we've had a special advisor and unit on anti-corruption to the president. And that office has been at the forefront of leading us to develop the National Anti-Corruption Ethics Strategy, which should be rolled out this first quarter of this year. That has been significant because a lot of effort went into that in the last 6 months of 2025. Again, when the president, for example, in spite of the hue and whatever by Parliament and whatnot, said no, the office of the Special Prosecutor is too young. It's not. We are not at the point where we should be talking about scrapping it. That showed leadership. It showed a leader who understands that we expect our politicians to be accountable, and that office was established particularly to hold the politicians accountable. So if they're the first to say let's scrap it, that actually is in bad faith. So I would say that there's every indication of a strong commitment to good governance and anti-corruption.
I see, and also on the anti-corruption bit that you ended on, you heard Arise Ghana. They talk about oral, and that they've been engaging citizens, testing the pulse of citizens. Citizens are losing confidence in terms of how speedy the trials are going and how oral is working for that matter. He's not the only one who's expressed this sentiment. Now, would you agree with that, especially taking into consideration the promise of oral and how it hit the ground running with the preparatory team? The expectation was that at least within the 1 year, 1 or 2 persons who were named in there would have been either asked to some monies retrieved or even incarcerated for the said acts of corruption that they were tagged with. Would you agree?
Well, I think your question was more of an assessment of the president. If you say, if you had looked at it at the level of the government or at the level of the attorney general, then I'll have other things to say. But at the level of the president, I'm saying that what were the commitments? The anti-corruption part had 15 indicators. Oral is just one. In fact, it's the first one in that list, if I remember correctly. But it's 1 out of 15. But we cannot pick that one and make that become the overwhelming or overarching indicator of everything. And even in that one, was oral established? Yes. The citizens respond? Yes. Were cases collected? Yes. Where has the gap been? It's really about the completion of investigation. The cases are sent to court for prosecution and recovery. And that's where perhaps we should be looking at what strategy is the AG using. I have said that I don't think that we should, run with a pace that we can and then breach the rights of persons. But at the same time, should be possible to say we are bringing on board, let's say, private lawyers, maybe spread the cases a little to get the OSP and other entities involved in looking at some of these cases, so that you have many more hands on board to get better results. Indeed, is one of the reasons why I'm excited about the president's call for a specialized court. And my recommendation was that let's not talk about one specialized court, which is what they captured in the manifesto. If you take Kenya, they have as many as 12 specialized anti-corruption courts. And specialized courts are not the same as fast track. With the fast track court thing we did in Ghana, the fast track was about mechanization. So they brought in equipment so that the hearings could be recorded, the summary notes could be gotten faster, there were microphones, and so on and so forth. That's like bringing in technology. But with specialized courts, what we are saying is that you need people who understand the anti-corruption terrain, understand that the threshold of evidence in our space ought to be different. It cannot be the same as you use in the criminal cases, in which case then you're going to lose probably almost every anti-corruption case. So you need the investigators trained differently, prosecutors trained differently, and the judges especially, such that then you can run this. And in Kenya, they run it on a daily basis. The cases are ahead daily, and they will add weekends if they are about to miss the 6-month threshold. They have a 6-month target for every single case, and they meet that target. So there are things that will need to change in our space if we really are serious about making sure that we can get many of these cases dispensed with, rulings out, and persons held culpable, accountable for things or actions that have been taken against the state.
I see. And let me welcome Franklin Kojo, is the founder president of Imani Africa Policy Think Tank. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening.
What would be your verdict on Operation Recover or Loot 1 year on? You headed them, said I know there. Quick one on this.
I think we've made some noticeable progress, but I think we could do a lot more. I wouldn't say that I'm too happy about the way things have gone. At least some investigations have been done, but I think the speed with which we want things done and the persons that also to be targeted, I feel we haven't really done. We need to move at some speed, and so Ora needs an upgrade. That's what I would say.
I see. There's some update, some quick turnaround that you're expecting in 2026. There has been that kind of reaction. You had Arise Ghana and talk about how speedy the trials have been and the level of expectation that people had about Oral because of the preparatory team's work, and the perception was that, look, watertight evidence hit the ground running, and people should have either been in jail or some monies recovered at least within the shortest possible time. That hasn't happened. Is it a legitimate, expectation to have had within that 1 year period?
Well, of course, I suspect that those who were promoting Oral were the ones who actually raised all our hopes, right? And so our hopes have been raised, and now we are. And I don't think we've matched the, we've matched the, not rhetoric, we've matched the reality as against expectations. And I worry because, you see, going into next year, look, the government needs to, people will start complaining. And I think the complaints will become a lot more if they don't see quick prosecutions. I worry greatly that we are moving at a very slow pace, and things are not happening. Of course, certain cases are being seen and heard, but I suspect that there'll be a lot of firepower coming through the heads of the various, should I call it, the Attorney Generals of it. And maybe, you see, what I also thought should have been done, I suspect that maybe this is what the Attorney General should actually do. Maybe they should actually recruit a lot more, should I call them, good people, lawyers who could prosecute. Because this whole thing where the whole thing seems to be managed by a few people, frankly speaking, is annoying. It's really annoying. I thought that by now you'd have a raft of cases, at least if we're being given updates, because once those young prosecutors start, right, we have a lot more updates to be given, then we know that people are being processed. And of course, we probably should start having some special tribunals. Otherwise, what is happening is that unknowingly slow pace, and I don't think it matches the hype we got from Oral. I don't think it is. The hype we got from Oral was challenged. Our FA showed that people run away, but unfortunately, Charlie, just a few people. I don't think we are doing well. So a lot needs to be done. Yeah.
Mr. Kujo, stay with me.
I'm not PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.